Hi everyone, Rainy Bastaresh here, and today I'm going to answer a bunch of your questions having to do with metaphysics. We had a contest where I had people send in whatever questions they had about metaphysics just to see if we can do one video a day for the week, so 5 videos. Now, the problem is we had so many questions that were, I guess, intertwined or so close to each other that instead of spreading them out and repeating the same things, I'm probably going to take all of the questions and see what I can do about putting them into maybe 2 or 3 videos. So this one here is going to be encompassing quite a few questions. We're going to be speaking about the general parts of metaphysics, what kinds of things you can do with hypnosis, and talking a little bit about, towards the end, about spirits in general. That was probably the major questions. And in the next video, we'll speak about safety concerns and other things having to do with metaphysics. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, I've been doing things with metaphysics for about, I'd say, a good 19, 20 years now with hypnosis. And these questions that are getting sent in are kind of interesting. No one has ever asked me, what is metaphysics? I never really thought of that. What is metaphysics? So I'm going to speak a little bit about that and talk about the different types. So I guess when I think about metaphysics, I think about methods of finding truth about the other side. And there's a lot of different vehicles. People like to, just like with cars, you have a lot of vehicles. With metaphysics, there's a lot of different ways that people use to try to find truth. And when I say truth, your personal truth, what feels right to you about the other side. And when I say the other side, I'm talking about, there's different names for it: the spirit world, the universal consciousness. I even call it the subconscious mind, because they're all connected. So the answers to questions such as, who am I? Why am I here? Where have I been? Where am I going? These kind of things. It's an awfully interesting field. There's so many things you can do with it. And there's some common denominators amongst a lot of the vehicles. And those are, you're dealing with an exploration of reality, or your own reality. So look at it as you're an explorer. You're Sherlock Holmes, and you're trying to find out as many things as you can. And because there's a lot of things that can benefit, I guess, us as humans on this earth right now, from looking at the other side, from finding truths on the other side. There's a lot of things that we find there that can help us. So I think that's one of the main purposes, is to answer our questions: who am I, where am I going, why am I here, and to find things from the other side that can help you here. Maybe information, maybe guidance. So there's a lot of different areas depending on what you're interested in. So when you're looking at metaphysics, what are ways of doing this? Well, a few of them. Someone just was asking me about astral projection. There's one form of metaphysics. Religion, okay? You're basically speaking to the other side. Religion is all about your future. When you pass away, what's going to happen, the way of living. Meditation, mysticism, the whole witchcraft, sorcery, did I say that right, type thing. ESP, dreams, astrology, the whole self-help studies. I mean, look at all the books that have been written. There are huge sections in the libraries on self-help and the law of attraction. Thoughts become things. Okay, that's all, I guess you could say, in the metaphysics realm. Your thoughts materialize. Whatever you focus on becomes. And there's life after death, or what you call near-death experiences also. Contacting spirits and spiritual travel. So contacting spirits and spiritual travel are 2 of the biggest areas that we use hypnosis, or different kind of fields like hypnosis. For instance, meditation, just guided imagery, to be able to attain, to be able to practice. And what kind of spiritual travel? Well, this past life regression is probably one of the biggest ones we do in hypnosis. We do past life regression individual sessions. You can do it as a group and travel to past lives with a lot of other people. So there's a lot of different ways to go into your past and find out what you've done, experience different things that you've done then. So there's future life progression. So if you can go past, you can also go in the future, because one of the rules of the subconscious mind or the spirit world, there is no time. Everything is now. The past, the present, the future. Time, the past as we have it now, this linear time is something that's here in the mortal world, the conscious mind. Okay, it's something of man's. But there is no linear existence in the spirit world. Everything is happening. So you can go to a past life, a future life, and it's all right now. I remember I was talking to Raluca once. We were walking through the woods somewhere. I think it was over at a place called Skeleton Dam. It's not as scary as it sounds. And it's a nice long walk you have to go to get to the water to go fishing. And we were talking a little bit about metaphysics, and I says, in my next life, I want to be one of the ancient Indians. Because even though it's already happened to us in the spirit world, it doesn't really matter. A lot to grab onto there, right? So, past life regression, future life progression. So going ahead, what's going to happen the next time? Life between lives, that's a big thing right now. What happens between this life? Where am I between now and the next time? Present life progression. Now that's a fun one. Present life progression is using hypnosis or different methods like that to go ahead a few years in this life. So I guess you could also call that a psychic reading, wouldn't you? So read my future. So psychic readings, and you can see that psychic ability has a lot to do with hypnosis. You can use hypnosis for that. Why would you want to do that? Let's say you're working on a big project, or you have a career and you want to see how it's going to work out. Go ahead in time, find out about it, come back and decide if you still want to do it. Let's see. Another reason for going out in the past is some people like to go to past lives. Instead of just one past life, they like to scan many of them to look at their past karma. Some people believe that the karma of how you've lived in the past determines what kind of life you have now, and how you live today determines where your next life's going to be. So if you can go back and repair a lot of problems that you've had, or find out from them why you're this way now, you can work on it so you can have a better next life. Again, now you don't have to believe in everything I'm saying. I'm just giving you the general ideas. You may believe in past life, you may not. But this will help to understand the minds of a lot of people who do. Let's see, meeting your spirit guides, okay, or contacting spirits in general. Okay, that's another area you can use hypnosis for. Out-of-body experience. You hear about these people that are in operations, and during an operation they can actually climb out of their body and they see themselves on the operating table. Okay, that's another area you can use hypnosis for. And of course, we spoke about life after death or near-death experiences. So let's talk a little bit about spirits. Now that we said all the different kind of things you can do, these are some of the questions that I had about spirits. Number one is, how can you see them or feel them? Tell you what, let me read through a few of the questions. It'd probably be, instead of having to jump back, and I'm going to try to answer them all together. So how can you see them or feel them? What good can I get from it? In other words, meeting with spirits. Who are they? Where did they come from? Interesting. Can I find someone from a past life that I know in this one? What can they do? How exactly can they help me? How do they talk? How do they look? And can they make my life better? So we're going to be speaking about these questions between now and the end of this video. So, how can you see them or feel them? Before we answer that, there's something that's very important to understand. Right now, you can see me, you can hear me. If you were close enough or in this room, you could probably even be able to smell me if you're close enough, okay? We have those five senses of, sight, touch, sound, taste, feel, so all the different senses that we have as human beings. Those five senses are our conscious senses, so of this world. Now, things aren't the same way on the other side. On the other side, we have a sixth sense, because if we're using the five now, those five aren't what you use on the other side. Those are the five senses that we use here. So here, five, there, number six, okay? So what is number six? It probably has a little to do with some of these. Some people do say, well, I see things or I feel things. But the sixth sense is your imagination. They say thoughts become things, and the subconscious mind is the universal consciousness or the universal thought. Okay, because thought or your imagination, what you do with the thought, is how everything is guided. Matter of fact, everything in this world here was based on thought. Somebody had to have a thought, and then they use their imagination to move this thought into whatever it is you're seeing. Somebody had to have a thought to create the computer you're watching me on. Somebody had to have a thought before to create the microphone I'm speaking on. You can't see it, but it's right down here. So somebody had to think, what's that going to look like? And then through their imagination, they were able to create it in their mind. That's what a blueprint is. And then they worked on it, and this is the best they can come up with the tools they have here. So I guess you could say, in the subconscious or in the mind, this microphone was a lot more grand. It was wonderful. This computer maybe had rainbows coming out of it. It probably was really colorful, but this is the best they can make it here on this earth. So every single thing you look around you, your clothing, my glasses, those whiteboards behind me, the house that I'm in, my lighting that I have, studio lighting, everything around you was created as a thought, and through using imagination became whatever it is that you could touch and feel and see and smell with the five senses. So you see the sixth sense was used, the imagination. That is the key to the law of attraction, to any metaphysical type travel. So thoughts become things. If you think of it that way, your thoughts become things. The way your life is right now, okay, the way your life is, all the different things happening is the result of your thoughts to this point. Okay, so it's the end product, I guess you could say. It's kind of like there's an apple on a tree. If it's a good apple, it was a good tree. It was probably fertilized well, it didn't have problems, but the apple is the end result of the growing. So everything here is the end result of your thought. So the sixth sense is, I guess you could say, the primary, and from using it, you're able to create it in this world, so you could use your five senses to examine it. So that's very important to understand. Imagination is the sixth sense. So now when I go back to the questions, let's see, what was that question? How can you see spirits or feel them? Through your imagination. It's going to be different. A lot of times when I do contacting spirit sessions, I have you create a spirit room. We're going to talk about that in the next video about safety. It's a safe place. But I have you here, I say, imagine he's knocking at the door. And you can imagine it. If you hear it, you might even hear it, or you might just say, oh yeah, he's knocking at the door. You open it, and if you just open the door, there's not going to be anything there unless you imagine something being there. So imagine what he looks like. And again, so you're creating. If you're creating everything in this life, you're creating everything over there. So look at it that way. You are the creator of your world over here. If you're healthy, if you're wealthy, if you're happy, have a great relationship right now, you created that. So that same creation process is used in the spirit world, using your imagination, creating it. So look at it that way. How do you see them or feel them? Everyone might be different. You might just see them. They might be blurry to you. They might be clear. They might look like somebody else. There might be a lot more mystery to it, having to do with your imagination, what feels good to you. So that's something I'm going to say about 100 times as I'm teaching, is that it's your imagination. What you imagine is there. So if some people say, well, is it scary? If you watch a lot of spooky movies all the time and you get scared with things and you expect things to be scary, they're probably going to be. Personally, I feel there's nothing there that can harm me because I don't imagine anything that can harm me. So keep that in mind. You're in control. I think I mentioned in one of my videos, I can't remember how long ago I did it, but it was about past life, where this woman says, as you're going through the guided session, I hit this door and I just can't get past the door. How do I open the door? I said, imagine it opens. Imagine you blew it up. Imagine you climbed over it. Imagine you huffed and you puffed and you blew the door down. Whatever it takes, but that door won't open unless you open it. So you have to imagine it opening. Why was the door closed? Probably because of anxiety, her own personal fear of What's on the other side? Maybe it was something really good and it was her own self-sabotage. Who knows? But if there's a block in your way, it's self-inflicted. You put the block there. And even if you feel you didn't put the block there, you can get rid of it because you are in control of your own journey, both on the other side and over here. Okay, we can't be victims in life. You have to be in control. You're in the driver's seat. I like to tell people life is not a spectator sport. Okay, you need to be the actor in your own play. See all these little terms? You're the actor in your own movie. Okay, be the actor. Don't be the spectator. So that's how you see them or feel them. What good can come from it? Well, I can go on forever on that, but I won't. Okay, what good can come from, let's say, past life regression? Well, some people like to go in the past to find out maybe there's somebody in this life you feel really close to and you want to see that, maybe they're a soulmate that I had in the past. Because, sometimes when you go in the past life and you see people around you, your mother, your brother, your sister, they'll remind you of people from this world. Because according to the past life, I guess you could say rules or what people say about it, they seem to say that a lot of the same people will travel from one place to another, one life to another. So your wife from this world might be your best friend from the next world, might be the butcher at, the corner meat market, another one. So it's kind of fun to go in the past and see why you feel so close to this person. You might want to, you ever been someplace, maybe on vacation, and you got there and you go, wow, I've been here before. You just feel like you have. Maybe you have. You can go to a past life and find out. Take me to a past life when I've been there. Okay? If you're trying to find a hobby or a sport, what were your hobbies or sports in a past life? Maybe one of those would be something you'd want to try over here. Or just the deja vu feeling. There's so many things you can learn from past lives. If you want to be friends with someone, but they seem to be loners, maybe you knew them in a past life. Go back and find out why they were loners or why you were a loner. So there's so many things you can go to search, or you can just go there and just absorb and learn. It's amazing what you can learn at the end of usually a past life session. I'll tell people, why don't you scan the life, and if there were a moral to the story, what would it be that you can take back to this life and learn from? That alone is a fun thing. Now that's with contacting spirits. That's with past life regression. For contacting spirits, see, I'm getting all confused because there's so much in my mind right now I want to say. With contacting spirits, it's another whole ball of wax. There's so many different things you can learn from that. You can get closure. You can speak to anyone who's ever existed. Remember, there's no time. So anyone from your past or from the past, if you're an author, and you want to get some advice about being an author, go meet a famous author. If you're an inventor, wouldn't it be great to speak to Thomas Edison? How about a long-lost love who's passed on? How about someone who hasn't existed yet? Your great-grandchildren, possibly, okay? If there's no time, it's amazing what the mind can conceive, it can achieve. I had one lady, I was doing a group session, I believe it was in Sanford, Maine, for the adult ed. I had about maybe 15, 20 people. And one of the ladies in the middle of the session was crying. And I noticed tears coming down her eyes. And, because you scan across to look at everybody, see what's going on. At the end of the session, we usually go around the room and everybody describes what they experienced. And she said her son was missing. I guess he passed on, but it was one of these things where he died and no one knew how. He just kind of never came home. Probably about 8 or 10 years earlier. And she says, I was in the house and I heard the door fling open and it was my son. He came running in, opened the refrigerator, started pouring himself a drink from the refrigerator, and he turned around, looked at me, and he says, hey Mom, you don't have to worry about me. I'm okay, everything's fine. So she got this closure and she was in tears. It was a lot more involved than that, but that was the basic message. It was kind of funny that, the refrigerator was involved. She says, because he used to always do that, just run in and go in the fridge. So, you can use it for that. If you want to speak to your spirit guide, you can sit down and speak to your spirit guide and get advice for your life. Counseling, let them know what's bothering you. Someone that you can talk to that is not going to go squeal to everyone. It's going to stay private. So there's a lot of different things you could do. Like I said, for a future life, a present life progression, if you want to see what's going to happen in the future. If you want to have an idea of what you're going to do next time, if you maybe your next life, future life progression, you go there, and if you don't like it and you believe in karma, maybe you want to work on being nicer in this life. I mean, it could be anything, but I mean, if you went to a future life and you found that you were a turtle, okay, maybe you'd say, oh gosh, I'm going to be a turtle. I better be a lot better in this life, okay? So you come back and start doing non-turtle things. But what can you imagine? Whatever you can think of, that's what can happen. Going back to spirits, who are they? Where did they come from? They're everyone. Think of it. It's a universal consciousness. We're all spirit. We're all part of this big bang. We're all energy. Okay, if you've heard of quantum physics, we're all vibrating energy. This whole sea of information. Okay, so we're all part of it. Your spirit always was, is, and always will be. So I guess I look at death a little bit different. There really isn't death. We're rearranged. Energy is always rearranged. But it's spirit. Is spirit. Is spirit. So you can speak to anyone. Your relatives who have passed on, people that you don't even know. So who are they? They're everyone and anyone. Again, be creative. Where did they come from? The universe, all around us. The stuff that I'm touching, okay? Can I find someone from a past life that I know in this one? Yes, you can, and that's what I mentioned a little bit about that earlier. So you can see why I kind of said all the questions all at once at the beginning, because just from talking about this, I've probably answered half of them already, but I'm repeating it just to make sure I covered everything. What can they do exactly? How they can help you? I already mentioned that. They can do pretty much whatever you want them to do. Is it safe? If you want it to be, again, you're in control. How can they help you? Advice, guidance. Keep in mind, though, when speaking to the spirits, you might not hear what you want to hear, okay? When you're in your conscious mind is very limited. The subconscious mind is unlimited. It's open, so anything can happen. I remember this one story about this guy who wanted to be a writer, so he invited the spirit of Henry David Thoreau, famous writer, to come into his room. And he came to his room, he sat down, they started talking, and he asked advice of Mr. Thoreau, and he looked at him, and Thoreau told the guy, don't give up your day job. You're not very good. Okay? So you might not hear what you want. Now, you could just tell the spirit, well, hey, what do you know? You weren't very good either, But, it's still your choice, but they might not say what you want them to say. If you're a singer and you're speaking to some famous Maria Callas there, famous opera singer, she might say, hey, you're not very good. Or they might say, keep it up, you're really good. So what can they do? They can give you advice, but be sure that's the advice you want. How do they talk? How do they look? According to your imagination, however you want them to. In the spirit room, like so when you invite them in, usually you have a couch or a chair or someplace where you can sit down and speak with people, and you can look at them and talk back and forth to them just like I'm speaking with you. I'm not seeing you. I'm seeing a camera, but you're seeing me. So just like you're seeing two people, or you can, have them at a distance, however you want to see them. They could look non-threatening, threatening, whatever you want. I choose to have them look like another person. So it's comfortable. That's what you're used to. Think of it, when anybody sees spirits, okay, you hear all these people that contact spirits and they say, oh, I saw my mother, my father. I mean, let's face it, when they're dead, that image is gone. But that's the image you create when you think of them. That's why when somebody sees them, oh, I saw them. They look the same. They look great. Okay, that's not actually what was there. That's what you created in your mind, the imagination, the spiritual creation of them. So let's see. And the last question is, can they make my life better? Well, depending on what you want. If you want advice, if you want to travel and learn things about more about your, who am I, where you're going, and it answers questions, yes, it can be better. I've done probably hundreds of sessions, group sessions and individuals, and I really can't think of one offhand where people said, it was worse. Okay. Usually we discuss it after, and maybe there might be something they didn't like, but when you discuss it, there's usually always a lesson to be learned. So that's today's lesson on metaphysics. I hope there was something in there that could help you. And we're going to be doing another one on safety issues, and probably talking about a few stories of things that I've experienced, which will be kind of fun. And I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did enjoy it, please do me a favor and share this video with your friends, especially if they're into metaphysics. The whole thing is, we do this and we put out these videos for free, and we're trying to expand. We'd like to get as much of a viewership as possible. So that's your way you could help us to continue doing this, is by sharing it and by subscribing below on that cute little subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.